Make sure I'm unmuted.
You're on mute.
Am I unmuted?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Hey, it's John McBride, ARMUS, VP of Technology for ARMUS. I mean, we've got some great stuff going on this week. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. A beautiful afternoon here in Utah, nice and sunny out there. It's about time we get that nice weather going. But we have a really special episode on our Tech Week. So Tech Week that we basically created to give some insight and understanding of the new technology that's out there, definitely showing some people and companies that are out there changing the world on both drones as well as the robotics side of things. We have software this week, we have hardware this week, and we have special representatives from each of these companies. And today we're bringing along Sarcos. So Sarcos is actually real close to me here in Utah, just in Salt Lake City. They do a lot of fancy things as far as all of the robotics side of things, but we've got the special guest, Grant, that's going to be talking to us today. We'll introduce him here pretty soon, but I first wanted to start with my man, Fraser Hahn, up in Canada, basically a John McBride of Canada. That's what I'm going to introduce him as. Hopefully that's okay, Fraser. John McBride of Canada. He's definitely the technical guy up there. So what do you got going on today, Fraser?
Well, it's very flattering for you to introduce me that way, John. I'm not sure I'm there yet. But yeah, I'm Fraser, so I'm the tech director for ARMUS Canada. One of the things I get to do here is play with all the fun technology and tools that we have and try to apply them to new situations. Like the Guardian S, for example, which is unfortunately behind John. I had to send ours back to him, so I'm missing it very much.
I will say I do like my Guardian S when I have the availability to play with stuff, Fraser. So, no, let's talk about this for just a second. The Guardian S, a snake design. We've done a number of videos online showing people how and what you can do with this. I know that Fraser, after sending it up to Canada, had got some good experiences putting it in some special use cases. And then also, this is the interface here is the radio. We've got windows on here, kind of a bigger unit, but man, when we're talking about the multiple camera views that the Snake can use, that the Guardian S can use, I'm just going to call it the Snake for short. So as far as the Snake goes, there's multiple cameras. There's definitely a FLIR camera up here on the front end as well. So lights and all kinds of things that we have to control from the controller. But can you talk a little bit about that? Just a little bit. I have the magnetic version here. This one sticks to the wall. But let's hear from Fraser on just kind of operating this in some of the conditions that he's done.
Sure. So it's a pretty versatile platform, and I would say it does what it's supposed to do quite well. It's really easy to use, and it's performed very well in every situation we put it in. So we've shown it to quite a few clients. We've put it into some power stations, and then I was lucky enough to do a pretty neat pilot project for a few days with it at a wind farm, where we put it inside wind turbine blades. As far as I know, we were the first to do this anywhere. And so wind turbine inspections is something I've done a lot of, usually with drones on the exterior of the blades. Wind turbine blades deal with a lot of forces. They're very highly engineered structures. They've got to be lightweight, and they're really getting thrown around all the time, smashing into birds and dealing with hail and stuff like that. So they take a lot of damage. And right now they get generally inspected every year using drones. And people have been looking for a solution for a long time on how to survey or inspect the inside of the blades. And a lot of things have been tried, especially the Helios and Helios 2 confined space drones. And that doesn't really work so well. And this actually proved really good on site. There were a lot of things that worked out really well, and it was overall a good experience.
Yeah. So just to talk a little bit about that, Fraser, basically trying to do an indoor inspection with a drone. You guys, and indoor meaning that inside of these blades that you speak of, inside the blades, what would be the biggest challenge of trying to get a drone down and back versus getting the Snake down and back?
There are quite a few challenges. So one of them is just getting the system up there, right? Like, I'm not a wind turbine technician. I don't have the permits to go into a confined space 500 feet in the air. So the system's got to be able to go up there in a small elevator through some narrow hatches. It's got to be easy for the technicians to use and replace batteries and so on. And this system did that very well. I was able to instruct these guys on how to do the sort of simple stuff, change batteries, make sure the antennas are good, turn it on, put it into the blade and get going. Another one is transmission quality. So, you're transmitting at fairly long distances. In my case, it was cold. I'm in Canada, it was wintertime, so I was transmitting through the roof of the work truck, through the air, and then through the turbine blades. This system can use 900 megahertz, so very good transmission range and good penetration of materials. So that worked out really well. And then another challenge in a wind turbine blade is that it tapers to a very narrow space toward the tip of the blade, which is actually where the more important features are. That's where the damage happens. And something like an Helios just can't get there. It can go maybe halfway down the blade. Another hazard with something like an Helios and some other systems is that they can get snagged, right? You wouldn't necessarily put a tether on an Helios cage, but with that thing, there's really no problem. If I was not good in my robot operation and I got snagged on something, the techs could just yank the tether and pull that thing right out. And that may or may not have happened a few times. So there's a lot of reasons where that thing is better than other systems. And I would also say that I had one sort of other industry expert that I talked to about this project before going up there. They were actually skeptical whether the robot could navigate inside a blade because the surface of the shell is sort of very smooth, and they weren't sure if the track would slip. I could navigate very well, and the odometer actually was so reliable that I could tell exactly where the damage I was identifying was in the blade. So a lot of things worked really well, even though it was kind of a first run, and we just figured things out on site, and the system performed really, really well.
Excellent. Well, absolutely, us kind of doing these tests and running them, especially getting them up in such a special use case right there. I mean, that's a very specialized use case, and the conditions seem to be, kind of perfected. They're perfect for this setup, for the snake setup. But, I want to talk a little bit more with Grant Swanky. He is a representative from Sarcos, and Grant, I'm sorry, I was trying to find your title here, sales director for Sarcos, has a little bit more enlightenment. So this is just our experience with Fraser and I doing this, but let's go ahead and have Grant speak more intelligently about the whole setup, the company, and as well as other things that they've been working on. So Grant, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, I've done a little bit of it, but the sales director, Grant Swanky. He's muted.
I don't have his audio.
Oh, I don't know if I've got your audio there, Grant. Let's try to do.
There it is.
Oh,
can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, so I appreciate the introduction. It was a lot of fun to hear you guys talk about the Guardian S and the successes you're having with it, especially the wind turbine. I know that was a big bridge to cross for the robotic inspection just in general. So as John stated, my name is Grant Swanky. I'm the sales director, North American sales director for Sarcos Robotics. We're seeing all types of different assets being inspected with the GS. I call it the GS for short, the Guardian Snake, the Guardian S. And I think that we're going to dive into some really good details here. It's pretty loaded with features. It's lightweight. It's ready to go out of the box. It has ease of use. Like John said, one power to turn it on, one switch to turn it off. It only weighs about 17 pounds, allowing it to be deployed into tight spaces, and it can go into pipes as small as 6 inches in diameter. So as we see with the wind turbine, obviously it has adaptability there.
Well, as far as any available, the units that are out there available and how many people have been doing special stuff with it, I know, like I said, we've come up with some things that have just been like fun to do, but definitely with what Fraser has done up there and kind of allowing these guys to pilot, if not drive the robot up inside of this, it definitely makes it a little bit easier for a lot of people. It can be still be kind of difficult to try to drive, but at least my experience, I am an RC guy, but as far as piloting goes or driving goes, it was fairly intuitive. It didn't seem super complicated. I would imagine that the environment itself can be a little bit more complicated on trying to navigate through spaces. So anyway, Grant, anything else, if you had a presentation you want to throw at us or talk about any other stuff, I'll basically hand it over to you.
Yeah, sure thing. Let me get this presentation shared on screen. Really the best way to go through all the features that we have here to present.
Okay, excellent.
Let's share.
Pop into him, Jace. There we go. Well, while we're getting this up and running, I know again Frazier has had some pretty good experience, but messing with this, and I'm gonna ask him a few more questions after the presentation. One of the housekeeping things here before we really get going. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and feel free to put these in the chat on the side of the window here. Just type in here. I'm gonna go ahead and type right now. You'll be able to see the actual me responding. But if you have any questions, put them in the chat. We'll try to get these over to the guests as well as over to myself or Frazier if we can answer them as soon as possible. So put them in the chat if you have any questions. But yeah, sorry about that, Grant. Let's go ahead and see what presentation you got.
Okay, fantastic. Can everybody see my screen okay?
Yep, you're good.
Hey, can you hear me? Okay, fantastic. So the Guardian S here, it's as Fraser talked about, it's very lightweight, it's very portable, and it's very capable as well. It's a truly rugged device. It's being used by the DOT. It's being used by energy. It's being used by chemical, so on in the green energy sector, as Fraser stated. So it's really seeing all different types of applications. To quickly go through some of the feature packed device that we have here and talk on some of the highlights. First thing is it's portable, it's lightweight, it's rugged. The second thing is it's wireless. So this allows you super short setup time. Typically your setup time to power on and off and get this thing in the area that you need it to go is about 5 minutes or less. And then with the battery pack, you have about 3 miles of travel. So if you're going to drive this straight for as long as you could, the batteries will allow you to go for 3 miles. Or if you just wanted to use this for surveillance, which we have seen some both in the commercial security sector as well with the DOT. If you just wanted to run the cameras and absorb as much video footage as possible, you have 12 hours there. Now, in addition to being lightweight, you also have a 10-pound horizontal payload capacity, which really allows you to carry, pull other third-party devices at your leisure. So with the 6 cameras that are on there that are all 4K, with the LED lighting, with the infrared camera, you can attach other devices such as extra lighting, perhaps UT device, perhaps a LiDAR device, and so on and so forth. And that's what you can see back here on this Picatinny rail, as well as the attachment board that's in the back next to here, next to these antennas. So moving on to the antennas, you have 3 different features of connectivity. So being wireless, we want you to have as much connectivity features as possible. So you not only have Wi-Fi, but you have a 900 megahertz radio as well as a 2.4 gigahertz radio. And this allows you to switch on or switch over to the different connectivity frequency that you need for the specific task that you're doing with the ROV. So if you're performing underground pipe inspections, perhaps 900 megahertz is where you want to go. Or if you're doing HVAC ductwork, where you're inspecting different types of ductwork inside of a building that has Wi-Fi, you can go back to the Wi-Fi. So continuing on here, as stated, we are using the GS and customers are using the GS, and our partners like RMUS are using the Guardian S in all different types of areas, all different types of industries, from Fortune 500 to smaller, such as home inspection or individually owned companies. So the main purpose of the Guardian S, as we all know, is to keep people safe, keep them out of dangerous environments, and keep them out of confined spaces. With the Guardian S's flexibility, its rigidness, and its compact size, you're allowed to really go into areas that are uninspected. So we have a phrase that inspect the uninspected, right? So you can deploy into tight spaces. You get your 4K cameras that have 360 degrees around. So you have 2 cameras in front, 1 camera on the right, 1 camera on the left, 1 above, and two in the rear. So one for seeing directly what's behind in front of the front part of the snake, and then one for seeing what's behind the back part of the snake. And then once you have deployed into this dangerous area where you want to keep the humans out of, it truly is simple to control. You have a tablet designed controller, or OCU as we call it, and it has all of your displayed features easily readable and ready to adapt to. So if you want to switch camera angle, you simply select the camera option and change your camera from left to right, center, back, IR, so on and so forth. Or if you want to adjust the lights, same type of deal. Now, one thing that we are really proud of is the ability for the GS to have different modes, which helps the operator perform the task they're trying to perform without too much of a struggle. So you have 7 different modes that the Guardian S can go into. You have freeform mode for your advanced drivers that really want to take this into a tight space or rugged terrain and crawl over things and go around things. Or you have your very simplistic driving modes, such as safe climb, to allow you to go up an I-beam without taking the risk or mitigating the risk of not staying on that I-beam, if you will. So, John, just want to check in before we move any further. Are there any questions?
Let's see. We have just one. How far did this seems like a Fraser question though, real quick. How far did the snake go into the wind turbine blade? I think you had mentioned this, Fraser, but maybe one more time for the crowd on how deep did that go? And
sure, I'm not sure if I.
Oh, I was going to just say, as mentioned, that a 6x6 circle is basically what Grant had said. You know, you can get around a 6-inch circle or 6-inch tube that it can travel in. So, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt there, Fraser. Go ahead.
No problem. So I'm not sure if I got into specifics on this, but put it this way. We identified a critical defect about 62 meters into a 66-meter blade. So it's safe to say that no person or other inspection device of any kind can really get that far in.
Pretty impressive. I'm just going to say it's pretty impressive. So, I mean, considering that this, you know, and I wanted to clarify this, Grant, on your saying, was it inspect the unexpected or inspect the uninspected? Because if we've never inspected this before, like Fraser just said, I would say inspect the uninspected. But, you know, it would also be unexpected to actually get down to the end of the blade and actually see something like this. So, just clarifying, and that was the only question I had, Grant, so you can move on.
Yeah, no, I really like that new iteration and inspecting the uninspected to hopefully deter the findings of the unexpected, right? And that is true. It's a
there you go.
It's flexibility, its capability, its compactness really allows you to go places that you haven't gone to before. And while sometimes it's nice to turn the blind eye, and as long as everything's running, we all know that during the downtime for inspections, we want to get inside of those nook and crannies, and the Guardian S can really help you do that. But yeah, moving forward here, so the OCU controller, I think this is a really good picture. Well, it might be on a little bit of bulkier side. It's so that it's easily to use. It's easy to read what's going on with the Guardian S when it's out of sight. It's easy to use the features and access the features that are all packed into this wonderful device here. So like we were talking about the modes, you can easily see that up on the left. You can change your signal frequency. You can upload things to your cloud if you get that feature put into it, and so on and so forth. But at the bottom of the OCU, this is where it really gets truly what I like to call current technology. This is no longer future dreams. This is actually here. So you have a 3D image of the Guardian S down at the bottom of this OCU, and it's actually mimicking and showing you what the Guardian S is doing. So on your left, you have your basically bar diameter showing you if you're raising up, if you're crawling over something, if perhaps you're stuck and hitting something that you need to crawl over. And on the right, you have your turning radius. So if you are bending and winding and using it like the snake form that it is to go around certain obstacles, you can see at what degree you're doing so. And then obviously it has your batteries, power showing you what the robot battery power is at, what the OCU battery power is at, and then you have your communication strength, your radio frequency. And so really the OCU is a great feature of this product. It really makes you comfortable and more capable because you have all these different data points that you're being shown in real live time. So as we were talking about how easy it is to deploy, so being 17 pounds and really being the ROV itself and the controller without having any type of wiring set up, any type of assembly that needs to be done other than putting the batteries in, which takes about 4 minutes, I think. You can easily wear this thing like a backpack from job site to job site, from inspection to inspection. You can fling it over your shoulder, carry the controller in one hand, and off you are from one inspection to the next. It deploys in less than 2 minutes with power up time. You're looking at less than 5 minutes. And the user swappable batteries can provide up to 12 hours of uninterrupted daytime or nighttime surveillance, then 3 miles of travel range. When I'm using the ROV, the Guardian S in field applications, I find that if you're running it really hard, you get somewhere between 3 and 4 hours of battery life out of it. And then oftentimes you just simply can hot swap one of the batteries to get another good effort out of it. So the batteries are hot swappable if you're just changing one. But if you're changing all of them, be sure to power down with that nice one switch, easy power down button. So going nearly everywhere, and I know that we were talking about this, but you can see the images on the right here, and we actually have some more in the case studies down below. But from vertical climbing to fitting in between a construction site, to climbing the walls on inside of a ship, to going into a debris site, some type of building that perhaps collapsed, or perhaps there was a catastrophic environmental event where now there's a tunnel where there shouldn't be, and you need to go in there and inspect that. This truly is going into places and giving you the mobility and freedom with its winding and turning technologies to fit in between spaces that normally you just couldn't do, or that the current assets on the market just can't perform. And then when it's out of sight, you have your robot avatar, you have your controller, your robot avatar shown on the controller, so you know exactly what your ROV is doing, what your Guardian S is doing when you can't see it. So as far as visual inspections go, you can record both on the OCU on the controller, and then you can also record on the SD card that is on the Guardian S itself. And this allows you to do a bunch of different things. So on the Guardian S, you have your SD card and your 4K cameras, so you get that high quality resolution inspection video that you might want to edit or shorten or highlight before you send it to your fellow members of your team or your customer and what have you. And then you can also record on the OCU for quick time, showing everybody else what you saw without having to take the SD card out and download it. So if you're out inspecting, say, a tank and there's some rust in some area, or perhaps a foreign object that shouldn't be in there, you can record on your OCU, show everybody that needs to be shown, and then go back out to the field to finish the actual inspection itself. So you really have all types of freedoms and access points when it comes to recording video footage. So when we're sending the Guardian S into confined spaces, up heights, into dangerous areas, we're truly saving lives and preventing injuries. And then with that Picatinny rail on the back and your USB port that you can plug things into, much like the SD card, you can really start inspecting, monitoring, and 3D mapping or UT testing your environment as well. So one of the features that's came out recently is we have integrated the software from the Honeywell multi-ray gas sensor into the OCU, which you can see right here on this screen. And it'll actually display the gas readings that are coming, or that the gas detector is putting off. So it's a 5 or 6 gas sensor, and you can choose which gases are relevant to your needs. and then it'll show up on your OCU live feed, which is really, really pretty impressive. In addition to that, we talked about adding additional LED lightings, which sometimes you need for ultra clear up close visualizations in super dark places or perhaps damp places. We've attached the Leica 3D imaging device to it, and then it comes stocked, ready to go out of the box with a FLIR or infrared camera. So just real quick, while we're on this slide, I want to check in. John, if there's any questions that come in, I think this is a perfect slide to do it on. These are all the general specifications about the Guardian S here.
Just as far as some questions that we're at right now, Mike Finn says, you mentioned infrared. Is the infrared payload built in? So this I do know. I mean, that's the camera up on the front end. I'm pretty sure you guys are using a boson sensor from FLIR. Not a radiometric, but able to do a couple of things with it. If I'm not corrected, if I stand corrected, that's as far as the core goes, but I'm pretty sure it's a boson FLIR sensor in that. But that was more of a question.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So it is built into the front there.
Yeah.
No, it's all good. We're working together here. So yeah, no, you nailed it right on the head. It's a high-res FLIR camera built in, so it's ready to go out of the box. It's a simple selection on the camera device on your OCU. So yeah, it's ready to go. It's built in. It's a feature that comes as bought.
Okay. And then the only other question I have is that's already populated is, and I think you've already answered this one, is can I pull wire with this? This is coming from our viewer Robotics. Can I pull wire with this? Any idea on the weight it can pull? And basically that, you had already said it can pull 10 pounds, but I haven't done any specific wire pulling with it or seeing how that might work. I can see it dragging, 10 pounds behind it. But if you wanted to elaborate maybe a little on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have had one of our larger industrial customers lay wire with it, do cable runs with it. They were pulling Cat5 cable, I believe, and other types of connection cables. But yeah, no, it's had great success doing that. I think that's one of the peripheral successes that's really gaining ground. So on this slide here, you can actually see on the bottom left laying cable runs. And really, if you want to reach out to me after this meeting, I can send out a couple videos of the cable runs that we've had customers perform. And I think that'll give you a good sense of what it's been able to do in that area.
Okay. Well, I still have on the display just, how the physical size of this. And like I said, even though I said it was pretty big, the nice thing is the size of the display. One of the challenges we always run into on the drone side is being able to see, something with the display large enough, and definitely this is large enough to see all of the information. Plus on your HUD, as you mentioned, down on the bottom, you have a avatar down there that shows us basically the power being consumed and the attitude of the actual snake as it's moving around in a space. So I thought that was a really neat feature to try and at least try to drive it around in a space, pilot around in a space. But I don't have any other questions. I think Mike Finn just asked real quick. If you know the specification of the FLIR camera, which is it a 640 by 512 or a 336 by 256? So if you know, or is there a choice there? What does it come with natively?
Yeah, sorry guys, good question. So natively, I actually don't know that off the top of my head. I will have to do a little research and get back to you on that. But yeah, no, absolutely. So
problem there. It's even though a high res can be considered a 336, the 640. A lot of people look for the 640 as being the number. But when I was looking at it, and I've always said this in the FLIR understanding of how the resolution versus the lens. When you have a really good lens on a 336, you really can hardly even tell that it's a 336 versus a 640. So just something to put out there as far as people asking about that as far as the size goes. But we'll get a clarification, it looks like, from Sarcos on what the actual size of that sensor is, since the boson can come in both. But go ahead, take it away if you'd like to, and keep going. And if we have any more questions, I think we'll follow up at the end of the broadcast here.
Okay, yeah, very good. So we're moving into some of the case studies that we have out right now, and we are continuously working to get more and more of these. As you can see, we are finding new applications almost weekly for the Guardian S here. Ooh, let me. So we got a video here. Let me turn down the volume though, because this marketing music does get pretty loud. It's a really good visualization of all the things that we've been talking about, and now we can actually view it.
All right, well, that kind of shows a bit of the capability in there as far as that goes, Grant. I think my favorite move of all the moves in there is the Sidewinder. How she kind of slithers to the side. I think that's a really neat kind of way to kind of pilot that or to move it is on the Sidewinder mode. But yeah, go ahead and continue on. Great video there.
I think his mic is muted.
Oh, is it muted?
I think he muted himself.
Oh, he probably double check your own muting, because Jace is really good at muting me.
I'm live.
But yeah, he's still sharing screen there.
My audio is live, but we
Okay.
don't have Grant's audio.
Don't have Grant's audio. If you can hear me, Grant, you can go ahead and.
It looks like it should be there.
Yeah, it looks like it. Maybe stop sharing there. You're good to go.
Screenception going on here.
Yeah. Well, let's see if we can get him back as far as presentation goes, and I'll have him check with Jace here on his audio stuff. But let's come back to Fraser here real quick. Some of the interesting things, like I said, that we've been doing out there. We've tried running things into ducting and stuff like that. On this version here, I have a bunch of magnets on the bottom. Fraser, were you able, as far as putting it into some of the spaces you are, we could see that it was stuck to the side of the wall. We've done this demonstration in the back where I have a big metal door that I've driven up the side of. Have you had a lot of experience using the magnetic portion of this, being that it's kind of a fixed magnet? What's your experience as far as trying to get it to stick to things?
So yeah, we've used that a bit. I didn't use it on the wind farm, although the guys found it pretty cool when I told them that we could drive it all the way up the tower if we wanted to. We've used it for some utility clients at power stations. It works well. It's surprisingly easy to do, even transitioning from a flat surface to a vertical steel wall or door. Like you said, generally works pretty well, and that's a feature that it's really cool to see. Everyone kind of likes watching that.
Oops. Well, I definitely noticed, as far as the magnets go, very relative here on how you operate in a position where you want to maybe go into a duct and go upside down or something like that. But I noticed that that ducting has to be fairly thick. The metal itself has to be thick enough for the magnetism to work well. It's not always about the weight of the machine, but that does have some, that is relative as well. Up to 17 pounds in which this thing is kind of trying to hold itself up. And if the thickness of the metal isn't quite thick enough, it won't quite stick to the sides as well as you would think it would, But I think that they have a demonstration thing where they're using almost a half-inch thick of plate metal down there in Salt Lake City that they drive this thing on the side of the wall. So just keep that note, kind of a mental note when you're driving around trying to stick to things. Just because it's metal may not be the best thing if it's not thick enough to hold that magnetism. So anything else you wanted to add, Fraser? Do we have any status on trying to get Grant back here?
We're working on it.
Okay, Grant's working on it. Fraser, did you have anything else you wanted to add as far as Sarcos stuff, other than you didn't send me batteries so I could turn it on and play around with it? That's the only thing I'm going to do is poke you in the eye about that.
I wasn't supposed to send the batteries, but we'll get to two. I do have a couple things to add. And actually, so this great presentation that Grant's going through has reminded me of some of the cool benefits that I experienced working with this thing. So just circling back to the resolution of the thermal camera, I'm not sure what it is, but I can tell you that it looked pretty good because I'm used to working with, drones in particular. And because you're generally close to the subject while using the Guardian S, it worked. It looked pretty good on screen. I actually used the thermal camera for navigation while I was figuring out the right sort of process to work inside these turbine blades, which generally was to keep the LED lights off and look for light penetrating through the shell of the blade, which would indicate some pretty serious damage. And so I could keep the lights off, record the video while I'm driving through the blade, and navigate with the thermal camera. And that worked really well, and it kept things efficient. I didn't have to stop and start. And the fact that it's got 6 cameras in every direction is another huge benefit over other inspection platforms that you might want to use, because you can just go all the way in, all the way out, pretty much as fast as possible. You've got your high resolution imagery recorded in every direction, and someone can review that inspection data, from the comfort of a climate control office, rather than you just stopping and starting to sit in a cold truck on site. Another benefit that Grant touched on was the controller. While it is a little bulky, that does make a lot of sense. There's a lot of buttons on there that are effectively hotkeys. And with most of these inspection platforms, there's a lot of features and settings, and they're typically accessed from drop-down menus. But that's not the most efficient way to change things up. So having access to the hotkeys, once you get familiar with them, allows you to adjust your settings pretty much on the fly, and that was really helpful also.
Excellent. So I think, like I said, our experience of flying of driving / moving this into spaces, there's definitely some capability here. Well, I'm just checking up with Jace here. Still no Grant coming back. I'm not sure. I guess we lost his feed there, but we'll fill in the gap here. One of the things we wanted to talk about, though, at CES this last year, Sarcos went ahead and was talking a little bit about their exoskeleton. I was expecting Grant to give us a little bit more information on this, but what we'll kind of highlight maybe later in other presentation is the exoskeleton part. And I don't have anywhere to share my actual HDMI in, unless you want to just give me one. Because I think if you haven't been to Sarcos.com, and that's a good resource to be able to see kind of this technology we're talking about. Thank you, Jace. Appreciate that. So I've just got basically Sarcos.com pulled up. If you go there, there's definitely some neat videos and whatnot that are coming through showing how they work around heavy items, picking things up. You can see this really cool video up in the front, controlling these units. And this is kind of where this robotic side of things, with Sarcos is kind of fallen into, is more of the exoskeleton stuff. So we have the Guardian XO, the XT, and the XT is mounted on top of a a lift there. The Guardian GT, which is like a smaller robot here. And I think the one that I was really kind of interested in is the XO, since on the XO we're able to kind of take a look at how we can enhance the human here, being able to pick up large obstacles or large items, heavy items. We've already seen this kind of used at Delta and other places where constantly picking up 100-pound, 150-pound items can be very strenuous on the body. So this assisting part is really cool. So manipulating up to 200 pounds, it says here, without fatigue or strain. So increasing that endurance and time, certainly helping out. Obviously they're not replacing. I'm not seeing a robot replace anything that Sarcos has, and that was one thing I was going to ask. Is all of these are pretty much remotely controlled, if you will.
Got it.
So, there we go. So it might be a little bit short of time to do a whole presentation, but if you're there, Grant, you can see I'm just kind of talking about the Guardian GT here, which is definitely remote controlled. You're kind of still controlling this item. It's not doing it 100% autonomously. But while I was filling in the gap for you, I was just kind of talking a little bit about some of the other items that Sarcos is currently making. Let me know, Jace, if he's good to go to come back on.
He is back.
All right. I'll go ahead and let you go ahead and take over again, Grant. There you go.
All right, hey everybody.
Technology.
Sorry about the. It's we're coming into the robot world, and the computers are getting frustrated. They might be getting left behind. I think I'm not sure, but yeah. Moving on to the XO, GT, and XT. These are upcoming products that are set for release in 2022, and they're all truly unique, and I think that you're going to really enjoy what we have here. So let's go to full screen mode. Now, as you mentioned, John, they are not fully autonomous, and that's because Sarcos has a mantra or a core belief value that we truly want to augment humans. That way we can continue to do non-automated processes. So it's one of those battles where if you're going through the Ford building system and you're replicating the same car a million times, you can make that perfect weld autonomous. But if you're working, let's say, at a refinery or a manufacturing facility where every building and every asset is unique at that specific facility, having an autonomous welding device or autonomous grinding device or an autonomous mover becomes more and more difficult. Now, the XO is one of the products a lot of people are excited because it's actually a true exoskeleton, and it's built to not only enhance the human experience and enhance the aging of our workforce where all the knowledge is at, but to also allow us to do tasks that can't be automated. So as you can see here, something as simple as lifting a tire and putting it onto a transportation device or onto an airplane or onto any other device that needs a wheel can be, pretty humanistic. You have to line up exactly your holes to where the screws are. You have to line up the tire to meet the surrounding parameters of your wheel well, and so on and so forth, with different tire sizes, with different wheel well ranges, with different just overall assets that are using wheels. This is like a simplistic way of showing why augmenting the human experience can really elevate what we're doing out here with the robotics. So the exoskeleton will help us lift up to 200 pounds. It's battery operated, much like many of our other devices, such as the Guardian S, and you can hot swap those batteries to help you get more performance out of a shift from it. And then it's also capable of 100% load relief. What we're finding is that we actually want to be somewhere between 90 and 95% load relief. That way the operator can still feel what they're handling, carrying, moving, or the tasks that they're doing. So it's a truly a life improvement device. We have some market studies that we had to jump over here quickly, but that are showing that the the aging of our current workforce at its capacity is not being refilled with the new oncoming generations of workers. So what that means is we're having less workers join the industries where we're seeing the most aging. And this type of device, along with the XT and GT, are allowing us to get more work life out of these workers who are doing truly strenuous tasks that could do better for a 20-year-old than, say, a 58-year-old. So moving on to the XT device. So here's some more pictures of the XO. I know we're running out of time here. So this is the XT device. It's a combination of the XO and GT that John was showing you on screen. So John was showing you the GT, and then we just went over the XO, and this is the XT. This is a very popular topic around Sarcos and around our partnerships and around potential end users, because it's a smaller working platform than the GT. You have all the strength of the XO, and with these two combinations, you can do things like work at height. You can use off-the-shelf tools such as welders, grinders, sanders, UT devices, so on and so forth. And it's all being done while keeping the human out of the dangerous environment or out of the lift condition. And then some of the peripheral benefits of using a teleoperated device like the XT are you're saving on scaffolding costs. You're using your skilled technicians who have all the knowledge to do the same task in a safer environment. So here you can see the operators working safely from a controlled environment and doing truly unique welding, grinding, cutting, so on and so forth tasks that we need the humans to do, because it's an art form and this is not a replicable building. It's one of a kind, or there's very few of them, or the tasks that we need to do to make an automated process for that task just isn't cost effective. So we really have a lot of freedom with the XT, XO, and GT and their teleoperated capabilities here. But yeah, John, so I know we got about 10 minutes here. I'll pass it back to you for more questions, and we can go through some of these upcoming 2022 features that we've been talking about with the XO and XT if we have some more time for that.
Sure. I mean, like I said, some really fantastic stuff going on in the robot world, if you want to call it that. About trying to excel performances. Big one is injuries. I saw your chart there. Being myself in the Marine Corps, we definitely got ourselves into thinking that 20-year-old self of mine could pretty much carry anything for the longest duration of time. Didn't really care about what it was going to do to my body in the future. So if I had one of these guys running around, it would be so much easier than trying to destroy my back, which is now paying for it 26 years later. So as far as injuries goes, and I know a lot of the things that are created out there is usually to keep people in some form of factor, safe. Not only just the loss of life, but that repetitive and that continual thing, or trying to, in Fraser's case of a confined space area that's very hard to get to. Trying to cram your body. I was also a sheet metal mechanic on C-130s, and trying to get down into some of these spaces, man, I can just tell you right now, I wish I had a Sarcos snake to inspect inside of a wing where I didn't have to get crawling down inside that area to do my inspection. So definitely some innovative stuff. I don't have any other questions. I was just going to say, if anybody was still watching and wanted to put some more questions in the chat, feel free. We still have about another 8 minutes or so before we end the broadcast. Grant, was there anything else you actually wanted to add, as far as other possibilities or things Sarcos has been thinking about in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. So with the XT and its late phases of testing here, we are open to working with partners and coming up with different types of use cases for things. We while we're not really in the accepting the PO stage yet, I mean, we're always willing to accept a PO if you want one out of the box right now, but we're really looking for more agreements on use cases with these upcoming devices. Like I said, they are ready for 2022. That's our anticipated release date. And yeah, John, like you were just talking about, the end all to be all these devices really is more than what was shown on screen. It's going to save a lot of injuries. It's going to help expand the length of workers' time with aging differences, and then also it'll help us accomplish all different types of tasks that can't be or currently are not seen as being autonomous. So we're going to allow these skilled workers with their knowledge, with their craft, to use these teleoperated systems and achieve those goals.
Excellent. I think that's a really good business model as far as understanding that part goes. I do have just two questions, and we'll go ahead and field these questions for you. Any idea if there's going to be an appendage that's kind of considered to work on the Guardian S, something like the Spot that has like something to grab? I can see this being a small problem though, Mike Finn, even though he asked us in the thing, is like the stability of the machine, but I know there's different modes it can go into. Have we thought of any type of appendages that might be able to go onto the Guardian S?
Yeah, so much like the snake arm or claw, if you will, we've had one of our partners and customers attach a claw to it. We know it's doable. We're currently not having it as an additional add-on from Sarcos. That could change in the future as we get more data back from it. But it is completely doable, and we can help arrange that with a third-party vendor if it's something that somebody had a lot of interest in performing.
Oh, perfect. Great answer. At least there you go, Mike. At least the possibility is there, Also, Robotics, who's also one of our viewers here, asks, what is the runtime on the exoskeletons, full day, kind of, I know that you had said that they're hot swappable. You can pretty much run them, continuous all the time, but if you were just running it, what is the expected runtime from one of these, as far as of the exoskeletons?
Right. So the expected runtime is going to be at least 4 hours. So that way you can work half a shift, go to lunch. By the time you come back to lunch, you're ready to get back in the suit and operation. So we're hoping to see at least 4 hours worth. Okay.
Excellent. Well, other than Frazier, it probably could help Frazier learning how to dance. Can it do that? I've seen him try on our videos sometimes, so maybe we can pre-program one to teach him how to dance a little bit. Maybe it could be used as that. What do you think, Frazier?
Well, I have seen robots dance better than I can.
There you go. Well, hey, I think that's it for today as far as our presentation. We're just about run out of time. I don't see. Let's see. Okay, of course, Mike's got to throw a couple more questions in there at the very end, which I'm happy. Like I said, we still have a couple more. Are the camera's lights movable and panable? Mike, they are not. You're actually moving the snake around to actually get the camera and the actual lights to go. And just a little closer look at that. If we take a look here, we have LEDs up here on the front. We have our FLIR camera. We have two optics that are right here on the front as well. And then there's a camera on the top. It might be hard to see with this camera. There's one on the top. There's one on the side. One on the other side as well. And then there's a rear viewable camera in the back here that you can see. And it's kind of an interesting view because it actually shoots from the back here moving forward, so you can see any obstructions visible from the front end. And then, of course, there's one that shoots backwards. But they're all fixed. I would say if they were panable and moving or anything like that, that might be a bit of an issue. And as far as I know, no zooming specifically on the camera. I'm pretty sure I can confirm with Frazier on that, because I'm not sure, or Grant, I'm not sure if it's actually got a digital zoom or not, or if there is a zoom on there. But from what I understand, it's probably just a fixed. I don't know if you can clarify that for us, Grant.
Yeah, so there is a digital zoom option, and then with while you can't pan or tilt the camera specifically with the 7 degrees of motion that you have with the Guardian S, you can get really close to replicating it. So you can have the front move up or down, and then you can also make the snake bend side to side. If you just wanted to use the front cameras, or like we have 7 cameras on there, so you can switch between camera angles and use your digital zoom to zoom in or zoom out as needed.
Excellent. Yeah, I think, like I said, it's pretty intuitive to kind of move around and kind of understand how to manipulate the Guardian S around. And like I said, I'd love to be able for you to come up and demonstrate one of the skeletons for us. I think that'd be really cool to see that work.
Me.
Jace is already excited. He wants to carry boxes, and he probably needs to learn to dance too as well, Grant. So as long as you can program that in there for him to be memorized. Anyway, if that's it, thank you everybody for joining us today. I think that's all the questions that we do have. Grant, thank you again for being part of this presentation. I know a little hiccup in there, but not a big deal. I think there's been as far as the people watching, this is such a specialized item and a specialized system, and anything else you guys are moving forward on, that it just makes sense to have a very special crowd that watches us and make sure that they kind of understand what's out there. But thank you, Grant, for joining us today.
Thank you very much, guys. It's been a pleasure as always. I can't wait to do more with you.
Okay. And as far as Fraser goes, like I said, we can't beat his experience up there. I'm still going to call him the Mini McBride up there in Canada. He gets to play with stuff more often than I do. I don't know. I'm kind of stuck doing a lot of training videos and training stuff right now. But, get all the equipment up to Fraser, and he can definitely give us a really good, valuable information on how it's acting out in the field. So, so we'll want to roll that back. Do you have anything else, Fraser? You good to go?
Yeah, I think we've covered everything. I guess I should also say that I really enjoyed operating this robot and kind of putting it in a challenging environment to see how it worked, and it's pretty cool.
Okay. Well, again, thank you everybody for joining us today and learning a little bit more about the Sarcos Guardian S and its capabilities. Thank you, Grant, for again hosting this with us, sharing and providing information. And as always, again, thank you to Fraser for joining us from Canada and giving his insight on everything else. Make sure you join us tomorrow, 10 a.m. We're going to have one more blip on here as we close out, but tomorrow, 10 a.m. with Autel to continue our Tech Week. And then our following afternoon broadcast will be with Watts Innovation. So don't forget to miss out with Bobby Watts if you haven't already registered for those. Check out the online training center as well as from ArmUS. So any other stuff out there that ArmUS can help you with sales at ArmUS or training at ArmUS, we're happy to give you a hand. So thanks again for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow for the Autel broadcast, and we'll be learning a few things from them. Thanks, guys.